I found a lost phony and the messages shocked me. Okay, so this might wait you sound like one of those creepypasta things you read late at night, but I swear on everything this actually happened to me. And before you jump in the comments asking why I did this or that, let me just admit it straight up. Yeah, I made some dumb decisions. If I could go back, maybe I would have just minded my own business. Maybe I'd have left that phone right there on the bus seat and never looked at it twice. But curiosity has always been my downfall, and in this case, it nearly ruined me. It started on a Tuesday night, the kind of night that feels colder than it should. You know when the air just has that weird heaviness, like something's pressing down on the city? I was heading home from work later than usual. I do ITT help desk for a mid-sized company. Nothing glamorous. Mostly password resets and listening to people scream because their Wi-Fi dropped. That night had been rough. Everyone decided their tech emergencies were my problem at 8:30 p.m. So by the time I finally got on the bus, it was nearly 11. The bus was practically empty, just me, a dozing old man near the front, and a couple whispering teenagers in the back. The fluorescent lights overhead flickered every now and then, casting the whole interior in the sickly yellow glow. I slumped into a seat, shoved my headphones in, and tried to drown the world out with some random playlist. About 10 minutes in, I noticed it. 2 rows ahead, right against the window, was a phone, just sitting there. At first, I figured someone had just gone to the bathroom at the bus station and would be back for it. But the bus was moving and the seat was empty. No bag, no jacket, no trace of whoever had been sitting there. I hesitated. You ever see something out of place and get that weird itch like the universe just nudged you? That was me. Finally, I leaned forward, grabbed it, and instantly felt that guilty little jolt. Like, great. Now I look like I'm stealing. The phone was nothing special. Mid-range Android, slim case, a tiny scratch across the screen. But here's the part that made my stomach drop. The screen was on. Not just on, but unlocked. I know how rare that is. Who leaves their phone unlocked on a public bus at night? I thumbed the screen nervously. There weren't any social media apps or anything obvious. Just a single messaging app open, something I didn't recognize. The logo was generic, like some off-brand encrypted chat thing. And there in the middle of the screen was a conversation. I should have locked it and left it alone. I know that. But the top of the screen caught my eye before I could look away. Unknown. He's following me again. What should I do? I froze. Another message popped in almost instantly. Timestamped just 10 minutes earlier. Unknown contact. Saved as just A. Stay calm. Stick to the plan. Don't let him see you panic. I swallowed. There were more messages before that, but my thumb hovered. Unsure if I should scroll up. It felt wrong, invasive. But then again, if someone was in danger, shouldn't I at least check? My brain went back and forth like a tennis match. Return the phone. Mind my own business. But what if the owner was in real trouble right now? Finally, curiosity won. I scrolled. The thread stretched back for days, maybe weeks. At first, it seemed harmless enough. Mundane messages about schedules, times to meet, odd references to tasks. But then things got darker. Messages about being watched, being followed. A, giving instructions that sounded like commands. Don't use your card. Cash only. He knows you're building. Switch routes tomorrow. And then one that made my chest tighten. Unknown. What if he catches me before I get there? A. Then you know what happens. Don't mess this up. What the hell did that mean? My headphones sat silent in my lap now. The bus hummed beneath me, the driver clearing his throat up front, but all I could hear was the blood rushing in my ears. I should have turned it in. Should have waited until the last stop and handed it to Lost and Found. Instead, I kept reading. The most recent messages had timestamps from barely an hour earlier. Unknown. I saw him outside again. Hoodie, same as last time. A. Ignore him. Stick to the meeting place, 11:30 sharp. I glanced at the clock in the corner of the phone screen, 11:17 p.m. My bus route cut right through the area they were talking about, and the thought hit me like ice water. Whoever this was, they might be nearby. Hell, I might be riding the same bus they'd been on. That's when I noticed the battery percentage, 4%. The phone could die any second. My heart was pounding. I thought about calling someone, but who? The police? What would I even say? Hi. I found this random phone with creepy text. Maybe someone's in danger? They'd laugh me off. So I sat there, clutching it like it was about to bite me. At 11:22, another message buzzed through, making me nearly drop the damn thing. A. He's closer than you think. Don't look behind you. That one didn't even have a response yet. I swear, every hair on my neck stood up. I forced myself not to turn around. The teenagers in the back were giggling, whispering to each other, oblivious. The old man snored softly. Nobody looked threatening, but that didn't matter, because the message hadn't been meant for me. It was meant for whoever owned this phone, and they weren't here anymore. The bus screeched to a stop, jerking me forward. I clutched the phone tighter. I should have gotten off, I know that now. But instead, I sat frozen, staring at the glowing screen, trying to piece together the nightmare puzzle unfolding in my hands. Against all common sense, I scrolled further back. There were voice notes, short panic snippets I didn't dare play aloud. Photos, too. Grainy shots of streets I recognized, one of which was only a block from my apartment. That was it. My stomach dropped straight through the floor. Whoever this was, they weren't just being followed. They were being followed here, near me. I told myself I'd stop. Just hand the phone to the driver, go home, forget about it. But I didn't. I couldn't. Because once I saw the messages, I was part of it, whether I liked it or not. And deep down, even though I hated admitting it, a part of me needed to know the truth. Who was A? Who was this terrified person sending the messages? And what had actually happened to them? Because by now, one thing was horribly clear. They hadn't just lost their phone. Something much, much worse was going on. This is the part where the line between weird and dangerous got fuzzy and started to wobble. In the bright, stupid light of the bus interior, I convinced myself I was doing a good deed. Finders, keepers. Give it to lost and found. In the reality that unfolded over the next 24 hours, I learned how fast ordinary nights turned sideways. The bus hit the depot and everybody filed out except me. I think the world was still spinning slow from whatever the night had done to it. Too much fluorescent, too many bad coffee shots during the day. I tucked the phone into my jacket because honestly, what else did I do? Hand it to a driver, drop it at lost and found, call the number on the lock screen, if there was one, and say, "Hey, your life is apparently a horror movie?" I told myself I'd check the messages on the subway, hand it in at the station, and be a good citizen. That was the promise I gave myself at 11-something p.m. when the city smelled like rain and exhaust. The promise lasted 10 minutes. On the walk home, I kept glancing over my shoulder like some paranoid extra in a thriller. That's the thing. Once your head decides a pattern exists, you start seeing it everywhere. Every rustle behind the bushes was a footstep. Every headlight that passed in the distance could be watching. It's embarrassing to admit now, but I kept the phone on, tucked into my palm, screen peeking out like talisman. The messages could have been nonsense. They could have been role-playing, weird drama, whatever. But something in the cadence of them felt real, breathless, sharp, afraid. I got home around midnight. My building is one of those gray brick things with a lobby that smells like someone left a gym bag in a corner for a decade. I let myself in, and for a minute I nearly did the responsible thing. Walk straight past my room, go to the police station 2 blocks over, tell them I found this phone and that its owner might be in danger. But I paused, because the phone still had battery, and what if, I know this is a terrible reason, but what if the owner needed that battery to do something? What if they were trying to communicate with someone else, and me dropping it at the police would mean that last message, the last warning, wouldn't get through? Mostly, I think I was still curious. I put the phone on my kitchen counter and made bad instant noodles because that is the kind of adulting I had energy for at midnight. Steam from the pot fogged the overhead light. I sat at the counter, the phone propped against a cereal box. Practical heroics, right? And kept reading. The earlier thread that I had only skimmed on the bus turned out to be a vein of breadcrumbed panic. A was clear and taut in their replies. Little commands, patterns, what to do and not to do. Checkpoints that sounded like someone running a safe house operation rather than talking to a person they cared about. Switch trains at Halstead. Don't take the express. Keep your hoodie up. Don't use the north exit. Cash only. No cards. Don't answer unknown numbers. At first, I thought it was the sort of controlling behavior you hear about in movies. Someone manipulating a friend into paranoia for some idiotic reason. But layered under the commands were references that didn't sit right. Street names, bus stop names, times. Everything was precise. I kept telling the owner not to do things that normal, everyday people don't have to care about unless someone was tailing them with intent. Then, after I'd been reading for maybe an hour, I know, embarrassment, the conversation took a different color. The unknown texter, the messages came from an unnamed number, just gray bubbles, like something scraped out of the dark, started giving more immediate reports. Blue jacket, hat down. He's behind the bus stop on Halstead and 3rd. Same car as yesterday. License blurred in the photos. Don't go into the coffee shop, it's empty, he'll wait. Photos were being sent now. I didn't want to open them loud because what if someone heard? What if the messages were associated with some gang or hacker collective and opening an attachment nudged a notification somewhere? That's irrational, but that's where my brain had slid overnight. I tapped one photo and watched it bloom on the screen. It was grainy. Nighttime. 2 streetlights burned like tired sentinels. In the center, a figure hunched against the wind, hoodie up, head down. The blur could have been anyone, but a familiar curve. The lamppost, a trash can painted with a white number, matched a bus stop I took sometimes when I worked late. The exact bus stop. Not in some broad, maybe way, but in a stupid, particular way. The bench with the spray-painted heart on the underside. The sticker with the faded band logo. The dent in the bench leg where someone or something had hit it. That was my stop. My stomach dropped like a trapdoor. I read the caption, Ascent. Last seen at your stop. Took the 11:03. Don't go alone. Don't go alone. There are 3 words that have an ability to freeze you more than almost anything else. Don't go alone. They are both command and warning, and that message felt like a hand across my mouth. For the first time, the idea that the messages were random, detached strangers playing a game slipped out of my head. The connection was too precise. Someone had noticed and cataloged places I knew, and either they were incredibly unlucky to pick out a random bus stop I used, or worse, they weren't choosing at all. I put the noodles back on the stove, burning them from moral cowardice. I sat down, phone trembling slightly in my fingers, and realized for the first time it wasn't just about them or her or whatever gender fit the messages. It was starting to be about me. The text reference routes I used, times that matched my commute. I thought about the number of nights I stood under that lamppost and scrolled through my playlist. I pictured the route from my workplace to my building, down to the lamplight, down to the way my neighbor's cat sleeps on the stoop. The phone buzzed. New message. Unknown. He's watching the 11:03 people. Took a pic when they were checking the schedule. Might have caught the girl's face. I put my face in my hands. Pulse a live thing. My head was full of the howling thought. What if he'd taken a picture of me? What if somewhere in that grainy photo was my face, my hoodie, my mistaken day-night blur? I texted Liam. I didn't tell him the whole thing. Some part of me didn't want to dramatize it over text. I just sent, "You awake? Weird stuff. Can you come over? 10 minutes?" He responded within 30 seconds with approximately 12 laughing emojis and one suspicious callback asking if I'd put catfish on my dinner. He showed up wearing sweatpants and holding a six-pack like a peace offering. Liam is the reason I have a social life at all. He's the counterweight to my anxiety. Loud, ridiculous, always convinced any problem can be solved with snacks and a plan. He sat down at my kitchen counter, did a dramatic sniff of the air, and asked what was happening. I handed him the phone. He scrolled, eyes flicking faster than mine had. His smile faded. When he looked up, it was because the gravity of the thing had finally touched his laziness. "This is not your average lost phone, though," he said slowly. "Dude, this is messed up. It's my bus stop." I said it plainly. The words tasted metallic. They sent a picture of my stop. Liam read the message again, more carefully, like reading a crime scene photo. It could be coincidence. There are a million people who get the 11:03. You're panicking, that's all? Am I asked. Because I can list, I started listing the small things that made the stop specific. The dent, the sticker, Mrs. Carter's plant stand that sometimes sat on the corner. I felt childish mentioning it, but it was proof, a five-fingered argument. Liam scratched his head. "Okay, so either the person who owned this phone was out at that stop, or they were meeting someone there, or the other person, whoever unknown is, knows your stop because he's been watching it. All suck. But what do you want to do?" The question hung there like a door not opened. 10 days earlier, I would have randomly dropped the phone at the station and forgotten it. Now, with the phone warming under my palm like an animal, I felt like I'd enlisted myself into something that had teeth. We went through the options like kids planning a midnight heist. Option A, bring the phone to the police. Option B, try to contact the owner. Option C, go to the bus stop and wait. Option D, try to trace calls or numbers in the phone. Option E, ignore everything and hope it disappears. Liam made a face. Police will either roll their eyes or make you wear a wire and call it civilian involvement. Tracing numbers? Don't even joke. You have no idea who you're dealing with. Going to the stop? That's textbook horror move. Ignore? That's my vote. He laughed to deflect. It's funny which options make your stomach do somersaults. The watchful part of me recognized the stupidity in option C. The adrenaline part of me loved the idea of crawling into the mystery like some comic book hero. I didn't want to be brave. I wanted to be right. The more I read the messages, the more I felt like I should be involved because maybe, if I did nothing, someone might get hurt. We made a compromise. Liam would stay up with me. I'd reply to one of the less panicked messages. Nothing revealing, just a question to buy me time. We'd see what A said. If it escalated, we'd involve someone else. If it didn't, we'd take the phone to the police in the morning. I typed with fingers that felt clumsy. My thumbs hovered. It felt like a small betrayal, sneaking into someone's life to pretend to be them. But the thread had this staccato rhythm that felt like a heartbeat in the dark. I typed, "Hey, this isn't her phone. Found it. Is she okay?" And then I watched the message send. Watched the 3 dots appear and blink like a countdown. We waited 10 minutes. My kettle shrieked on the stove because Liam refused to let me brew real coffee. The 3 dots blinked again. A reply came, slow and clinical. "A, where are you? Don't lie. If you're not her, don't pretend. We'll know." My throat tightened. "We'll know." It felt less like an admonition and more like a promise. I typed again, clumsier. "I found it on a bus. I'm 26, Ethan. I'm trying not to make this worse. If you know where she is, tell me. I'll do what I can." There was a long pause, long enough that my phone battery felt like sand slipping out of an hourglass. Then, A, the 11:03 stop at Halstead. She was supposed to get off there. He's been waiting. Your building, north facade, facing the alley. We know the routine. The message had an intensity that made me want to reply with, "You don't." It made me want to stand up and check the blinds on my windows, like someone in a movie peeking through slats. The rational part of my head shouted for emergency numbers, for someone impartial, for help. But hesitation and fear tangoed in my chest. "You told them your building?" Liam said quietly. He chewed his lip. "Why would they know that?" I didn't have an answer. I remembered 100 tiny routines. The way I walk home. The shortcut through a strip of chain link fence. The cracked stoop where an elderly woman leaves potted plants. Could these small things be mapped by someone? The idea felt like tracing a constellation. Small points you don't think about until someone connects them with a pen. Then the screen lit up with a photo. It was a new one, sent from the unknown number. My heart, which had been trying its best to be a normal heart, slammed against my ribs. This one wasn't the bus stop. This one was closer. It was a picture of my building, or more precisely, my building's north facade, the one A had mentioned. The angle was from across the alley, like someone had taken it from behind the dumpsters. The photograph was a sloppy snapshot, slightly out of focus, but the detail was there. The narrow fire escape, the sticker on the second floor window, the pale curtain that I pulled every night to stop the streetlight from blasting into my living room. And in the window on the third floor, there was a sliver of light, a shape, a shadow that could have been anything. Furniture, a person. But the caption under it, typed without flourish, was, "Third floor light. She's watching." My hands went ice cold. I put the cup down and my fingers left rings on the ceramic. The image, blurry, grainy, like something torn from the edges of a surveillance feed, was a map of proximity. If someone had taken it, they had been close enough to see which floor had a light on. They were close enough to know which apartment had a sliver of movement. "Who's in your third floor window right now?" Liam asked, no humor left in his voice. He looked younger suddenly, a child frightened by a creak in the hallway. "No one," I said, but the lie felt feeble. I thought of Anna curled up on the couch with a book earlier in the week, of the TV showing some stupid reality show. I thought of the way Mrs. Carter sometimes falls asleep in her chair by the window. I tried to catalog faces that could fit that shadow and failed. I had to tell Anna. She'd be the sensible one, or at least more inclined to take the sensible course than I was. I picked up my phone and dialed. The ring was a slow drumbeat in my ear. She answered, voice bright and cheery, until I said I'd found a phone and had been reading its messages and our building might be in a picture. There was a beat, a pause that felt like a rope stretched tight. "Ethan, what are you saying?" Her voice folded small. I explained as best I could, keeping out details that might frighten her too much. 10 minutes into the call, I could hear her moving, shuffling, curtains rustling. There's a way people sound when they go from careless to careful. Anna's voice had that sound. She hung up saying she'd be at my apartment in 5. She didn't argue when I told her not to come. She just said, "I'm coming," and I knew she'd be there. Liam and I sat in the kitchen, the three of us feeling like extras in a film where the main character keeps making dumb decisions. The phone buzzed again, then again. Each time my thumb moved and the screen flared, there was that terrible little lurch in my gut, like the world had shifted a degree closer to the edge. A's messages started to change tone. There were fewer commands now and more observations, as if someone had stepped back and taken in a room. "Stop responding unless you are her," one read. "If you talk, he will know she's not here. Tell him you left your phone at a cafe. Say you can't talk. Buy time. Do not go outside. Don't even look out. The light in the third floor window means someone is settled. Keep the curtains closed." Every one of them felt like a hand closing on a throat. The instruction not to look out the window felt like being told not to breathe. I found myself pacing, peeking at the blinds, then pulling them tight like a child trying to keep monsters from seeing in. We debated calling the police again. I went through the script in my head. Found phone, suspicious messages referencing my building, and stop. Photos of my building, someone might be stalking me or the person who owned the phone. I could almost hear the officer's voice on the line, patient and procedural. "Stay calm, sir. We'll send someone by to check." And then nothing. Empty reassurance. Then there was the practical, darker truth. If someone was watching my windows, if someone had a camera, if someone had been following the girl, would alerting the police make that someone escalate? Would it push them to hurry? Or would it make them vanish with the phone owner like a vapor? The phone was an object of power and danger now. Every new message rearranged the board. Every image was proof that they existed. I had to stop thinking in hypotheticals and start acting like someone on the chessboard. "So what do we do?" Liam asked finally, raw and quiet. I didn't have a plan that felt non-stupid. But then a new message dropped with a tone that was almost casual, like a realtor noting a detail. It was timestamped 2:13 a.m. and said, "Hey, stop checking the windows every 5 minutes, Ethan. He notices patterns. Remember the woman at the laundromat? He tried there after 3 nights." My skin crawled. How did A know my name? How did A know I'd been checking the windows? The message had my real name, the one printed on my work badge. That fact alone made my home feel less like mine. I'd never told anyone about finding the phone. I hadn't posted it anywhere. The only people who knew were Liam and Anna in my brain, and now this stranger. That narrowed the list of how they knew. Either there was a person inside my building telling them, which made me look sideways at neighbors I'd barely met, or who I was began to be public knowledge. The phone's battery icon blinked like a heart monitor. 17%. A mundane little statistic that suddenly felt like a clock. I knew in the practical, panic-laced way the next steps mattered. If I kept messaging, I'd get more data. If I stopped, maybe I'd stop the bleeding. If I involved the police, I might get help. If I did nothing, I might be quiet and safe for a time until the unknown thing decided whether to knock on my door. I made a decision, not the heroic kind. The kind that felt like holding a splinter of glass to avoid bleeding out. I needed evidence. If this was a pattern, evidence would be what convinced someone official to take it seriously. I would take screenshots, every message, every photo, and back them up. I would not, however, respond anymore. Responding had already given them information, that someone had the phone and that someone might be pretending to be the owner. That was a risk I didn't want to keep taking. "No more replies," I told Liam and Anna when the two of them were finally there. One pacing and one sitting on my couch, both looking smaller than the usual. but we screenshot, we save. If anything looks like immediate danger, call 911. We worked like a team of fumbling archivists, saving each message, timestamp, picture in a folder, and emailing it to a throwaway account I made, because the idea of logging this in the phone itself felt like leaving a trail in a room where someone had already left fingerprints. I uploaded the photos, added notes, framed dates like cling film over the evidence. It was practical and oddly soothing. The act of recording things made them less ephemeral, less like a nightmare that would evaporate if I tried to tell anyone. Then something changed. The thread went quiet for a long time, minutes that felt like hours. Then a message came in without the usual punctuation, a picture attached, no caption. It was a photo of me, not a flattering one. I looked surprised, mouth open in a half-taken breath, hair a mess from pacing, a sleep-creased shirt. The photo was taken from across the alley, through some foliage. The graininess made detail soft, but you could tell it was me. Under it, a single line. Unknown. Don't worry, this is just to make sure you take it seriously. When I saw it, something inside me clicked into a new, colder shape. This was no longer a mystery about a lost phone and a missing girl. This was about proximity, surveillance, and an intelligence that could reach across the alley and catch me. The novelty burned off. The stakes were real and personal. Liam swore under his breath. Anna put her hand on my shoulder like she was trying to anchor herself. The room felt smaller, like the walls had drawn closer. I realized I hadn't checked the chain on my door. I imagined footsteps in the stairwell. I thought of the 3 teenagers who sometimes smoked outside my building, of the old man who fed pigeons, of the way shadows pooled in certain corners at night. I'd wanted to be a good guy, find a phone, do the right thing. Instead, I'd unlocked the door and made someone notice. We sat in silence, which was worse than any sudden noise. The phone sat on the coffee table like a live thing. Every 30 seconds, I felt a little of my old life recede. The parts about going to work and making ramen and buying shampoo. Those things felt trivial beside a picture of a stranger's face in grainy pixels. Hours later, when dawn began to thin the night into gray, a final message arrived. It was not a command, not an observation. It was almost conversational, disturbingly placid. A, you can stop pretending now. We're watching. Don't move. It was the sort of sentence used to end arguments, to indicate finality. It left no room for negotiation. I sat there and felt the alive, beating core of me shrink to a frightened animal. The city outside went on. Trains, a recycling truck, someone playing a radio too loud. But inside my apartment, inside my chest, a new rule had been written. Your small life is under a microscope and strangers are casually turning the lens. I suppose in any good horror story, there's a moment where the protagonist steps off the map and into someone else's plan. This was mine. The only difference being that there was no soundtrack, no dramatic lighting, only the ugly, banal glow of a phone that had made the world suddenly narrower. I slept badly, if at all. When I did sleep, it wasn't fit. Eyes slitted open, dream images of faceless watchers at my window. When the light finally bled through the curtains and made the room look almost normal, I felt like someone who'd survived a storm and now had to go outside and look at the wreckage. This part ended the way all small things end when faced with something huge, with me realizing how small my options were and how big the consequences could be. The messages weren't just random anymore. They were a map, and the pins were all places I'd been. A pattern had emerged: obsession, surveillance, instruction, and in the center of that pattern was a phone that shouldn't have been mine. I didn't know then what to do, only that whatever the unknown number had been trying to do, they'd succeeded in making themselves unavoidable. And when the next message came, hours later, timed like a deliberate sting, it read simply, unknown. Tonight, be ready. Those 2 words were the kind you hear in movies and laugh about in basements with friends. In the pale light of the morning, with evidence saved and the smell of burnt noodles in the sink, those 2 words felt like an appointment you could not unwrite. I know I should have stopped. Any sane person would have. After finding a phone full of disturbing messages, realizing some creep knew my neighborhood, and seeing my own damn bus stop in a blurry photo, the logical move was simple. Hand it to the cops, walk away, sleep, and forget. But logic doesn't always win when your chest is buzzing with dread and curiosity at the same time. I didn't sleep that night. Every sound outside my apartment made me jump. I kept the curtains cracked just enough to peek out, watching the empty street like some paranoid watchdog. The phone sat on my desk, screen dark, charging on a cable I dug out of my junk drawer. Yeah, I know. Charging someone else's phone was basically me admitting to myself that I was going to keep looking. And then, around 2:13 a.m., the notification buzzed. I nearly fell out of my chair. When I tapped the screen, the same chat window popped up. The same conversation thread with A. But this time, the message didn't come from the scared owner. It came to me. A, you're late. Did you chicken out? My throat went dry. I stared at the blinking cursor in the text box. Whoever A was, they expected the owner to still be on the other end. And they were pissed. That's when the dumbest, most reckless thought I've ever had in my life wormed into my head. What if I answered? At first, I typed nothing. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, shaking. Then I thought about it. If this was some twisted setup, the owner could be in danger. Maybe already dead, but maybe not. Maybe if I played along, I could figure out where they were. So I typed back, me, as unknown. No, I'm here. The three dots popped up almost immediately. A. About time. I don't like being kept waiting. A. Do you have it? My heart thumped against my ribs so hard it hurt. Do you have it? Have what? Drugs? Money? Evidence? I took a gamble. Me. Yes. Again, the reply came instantly. A. Then you know where to go. I didn't. Not really. But a second later, another message arrived. A. The house. Same as last time. Don't screw this up. Then a pin dropped into the chat. A location. I tapped it with trembling hands and Google Maps zoomed in on an address about a 15-minute walk from me. Not far at all. I sat there for a long time just staring at it. Every nerve in my body told me to stop, to delete the message, to toss the phone in a storm drain and forget I'd ever seen it. But that itch in my brain, the one that had pushed me to scroll through the messages on the bus in the first place, was stronger. By 2:45, I was lacing up my sneakers and throwing a hoodie over my head. Yeah, I was that stupid. The streets were dead quiet at that hour. Street lamps flickered. A couple of stray cats darted under a parked car when I passed, and the air had that damp chill that crawls into your bones. Every footstep sounded too loud. I followed the map, each step making me regret this more. My neighborhood isn't fancy, but it's not usually the kind of place you hear about abandoned houses. Yet, as I turned down the final street, there it was, a sagging two-story with boarded-up windows and weeds choking the yard. The kind of place kids dare each other to run into on Halloween. My stomach nodded. I stood across the street for a solid 2 minutes, clutching the phone in my pocket, whispering to myself, don't go in, don't go in, don't go in. Then another buzz. Hey, I'm waiting. Don't waste my time. I swore under my breath and crossed the street. The porch groaned under my weight as I climbed the steps. The front door was locked, but the side door hung crookedly on its hinges, easy enough to push open. The smell hit me first. Damp wood, dust. Something sour that reminded me of mildew and old garbage. I pulled out my phone flashlight and swept the beam across the room, peeling wallpaper, broken furniture, a cracked mirror leaning against the wall, and something else, papers scattered across the floor. Curiosity drowned out fear for a moment. I knelt and picked one up. It was a photo of a girl. She looked about 20, smiling in a park somewhere, normal, harmless, except the edges of the picture were marked with scribbles in red pen, words like liar and traitor. I flipped through more. Different girls, all about the same age. Some candid, some posed, some grainy like they'd been taken from far away. Every single one had words scratched into the borders. Insults, threats, names crossed out. My chest tightened. What the hell had I stumbled into? Then I found something worse. A notebook. Inside were pages and pages of scrawled notes. Dates, times, addresses. My eyes scanned down the page and my blood ran cold. Because one of the addresses was mine. I nearly dropped the book. Before I could process it, another buzz rattled the phone. My hands shook as I unlocked it. Hey, did you find what I left for you? I glanced at the notebook in my hand, bile rising in my throat. I forced myself to type. Me. Yes. Good. Now you know what happens if you fail me. I froze. That phrase. I'd seen it before in the earlier messages. You know what happens. It was always used like a threat, never explained. My skin crawled. I tried to breathe, tried to calm down, but that's when I heard it. A noise. Faint, but unmistakable. Floorboards creaking. Not under me. Above me. My blood iced over. Someone else was in the house. I killed my flashlight instantly, plunging myself into darkness, my ears strained. Another creak, slow, deliberate. Whoever it was, they were moving carefully, trying not to be heard. The phone buzzed again, the sound impossibly loud in the silence. I fumbled to silence it, but not before I saw the new message. Don't let him catch you, you know what happens. And that's when it hit me. The him wasn't just a threat from the messages, he was here, in the house. And I wasn't supposed to be. I know I should have stopped. Any sane person would have. After finding a phone full of disturbing messages, realizing some creep knew my neighborhood, and seeing my own damn bus stop in a blurry photo, the logical move was simple. Hand it to the cops, walk away, sleep, and forget. But logic doesn't always win when your chest is buzzing with dread and curiosity at the same time. I didn't sleep that night. Every sound outside my apartment made me jump. I kept the curtains cracked just enough to peek out, watching the empty street like some paranoid watchdog. The phone sat on my desk, screen dark, charging on a cable I dug out of my junk drawer. Yeah, I know. Charging someone else's phone was basically me admitting to myself that I was going to keep looking. And then, around 2:13 a.m., the notification buzzed. I nearly fell out of my chair. When I tapped the screen, the same chat window popped up. The same conversation thread with A. But this time, the message didn't come from the scared owner. It came to me. A, you're late. Did you chicken out? My throat went dry. I stared at the blinking cursor in the text box. Whoever A was, they expected the owner to still be on the other end, and they were pissed. That's when the dumbest, most reckless thought I've ever had in my life wormed into my head. What if I answered? At first, I typed nothing. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, shaking. Then I thought about it. If this was some twisted setup, the owner could be in danger. Maybe already dead, but maybe not. Maybe if I played along, I could figure out where they were. So I typed back. Me. As unknown. No, I'm here. The 3 dots popped up almost immediately. A. About time. I don't like being kept waiting. A. Do you have it? My heart thumped against my ribs so hard it hurt. Do you have it? Have what? Drugs? Money? Evidence? I took a gamble. Me. Yes. Again, the reply came instantly. A. Then you know where to go. I didn't. Not really. But a second later, another message arrived. A. The house. Same as last time. Don't screw this up. Then a pin dropped into the chat. A location. I tapped it with trembling hands and Google Maps zoomed in on an address about a 15-minute walk from me. Not far at all. I sat there for a long time, just staring at it. Every nerve in my body told me to stop, to delete the message, to toss the phone in a storm drain and forget I'd ever seen it. But that itch in my brain, the one that had pushed me to scroll through the messages on the bus in the first place, was stronger. By 2:45, I was lacing up my sneakers and throwing a hoodie over my head. Yeah, I was that stupid. The streets were dead quiet at that hour. Street lamps flickered. A couple of stray cats darted and were under a parked car when I passed, and the air had that damp chill that crawls into your bones. Every footstep sounded too loud. I followed the map, each step making me regret this more. My neighborhood isn't fancy, but it's not usually the kind of place you hear about abandoned houses. Yet, as I turned down the final street, there it was. A sagging two-story with boarded-up windows and weeds choking the yard. The kind of place kids dare each other to run into on Halloween. My stomach knotted. I stood across the street for a solid 2 minutes, clutching the phone in my pocket, whispering to myself, don't go in, don't go in, don't go in. Then another buzz. I'm waiting. Don't waste my time. I swore under my breath and crossed the street. The porch groaned under my weight as I climbed the steps. The front door was locked, but the side door hung crookedly on its hinges, easy enough to push open. The smell hit me first. Damp wood, dust, something sour that reminded me of mildew and old garbage. I pulled out my phone flashlight and swept the beam across the room. Peeling wallpaper, broken furniture, a cracked mirror leaning against the wall, and something else, paper scattered across the floor. Curiosity drowned out fear for a moment. I knelt and picked one up. It was a photo of a girl. She looked about 20, smiling in a park somewhere. Normal, harmless. Except the edges of the picture were marked with scribbles in red pen. Words like liar and traitor. I flipped through more. Different girls, all about the same age, some candid, some posed, some grainy like they'd been taken from far away. Every single one had words scratched into the borders. Insults, threats, names crossed out. My chest tightened. What the hell had I stumbled into? Then I found something worse, a notebook. Inside were pages and pages of scrawled notes, dates, times, addresses. My eyes scanned down the page and my blood ran cold. Because one of the addresses was mine. I nearly dropped the book. Before I could process it, another buzz rattled the phone. My hand shook as I unlocked it. Did you find what I left for you? I glanced at the notebook in my hand, bile rising in my throat. I forced myself to type me. Yes. Good. Now you know what happens if you fail me. I froze. That phrase, I'd seen it before in the earlier messages. You know what happens. It was always used like a threat, never explained. My skin crawled. I tried to breathe, tried to calm down, but that's when I heard it. A noise, faint but unmistakable. Floorboards creaking, not under me, above me. My blood iced over. Someone else was in the house. I killed my flashlight instantly, plunging myself into darkness. My ears strained. Another creak, slow, deliberate. Whoever it was, they were moving carefully, trying not to be heard. The phone buzzed again, the sound impossibly loud in the silence. I fumbled to silence it, but not before I saw the new message. Don't let him catch you, you know what happens. And that's when it hit me. The him wasn't just a threat from the messages, he was here, in the house. And I wasn't supposed to be. If you've stuck with me this far, you probably already think I'm insane for not bolting the second I realized someone else was inside that abandoned house. And maybe you're right. Hell, maybe I was insane in that moment. But I'll tell you this, fear makes you do weird things. It paralyzes you. Sure, but it also sharpens you. Your brain turns into a survival machine, running on nothing but panic and instinct. I didn't wait to see who or what was upstairs. I did the only thing my body allowed me to do. I ran. I don't even remember how I got out. 1 second, I was crouched in that mildewed living room, notebook in my hand, and the next I was sprinting full speed down the street. Lungs burning, phone clutched so tightly in my fist, it left marks. I didn't look back. I didn't want to look back. By the time I stumbled into my apartment, slammed the deadbolt, and collapsed against the door, it was almost 4 a.m. My heart was still galloping, but my brain wouldn't let me rest. Not after what I'd seen. That notebook. The photos, my own address written inside, and the messages, always the damn messages. I plugged the phone back into the charger and sat there, cross-legged on my living room floor, staring at it like it might explode. Part of me prayed it would just die for good. But when the screen flickered back on, I realized I couldn't stop now. I had to know more. I had to know who this phone belonged to. The first step was easy. Check the phone itself. No contacts except no email logged in, no gallery besides the creepy photos. Whoever had been using it, they'd scrubbed it clean of everything else. But the wallpaper, that caught my attention. It was a picture of a girl, blonde, maybe 23, smiling at the camera with paint on her hands like she'd just finished an art project. She looked normal, happy, alive. I snapped a photo of it with my own phone. Then I went to my laptop and started digging. I'll admit something here. I'm decent at this kind of stuff. Working in IT has its perks, and I've always been a little too curious for my own good. A reverse image search, a couple of deep dives through social media, and within an hour I had a name. Sophia Hayes, graphic design student, 23, from the next city over. But the part that made my stomach twist? Her face was plastered on half a dozen missing person posters. She disappeared 3 weeks ago. I sat there staring at her smiling picture on a Facebook post made by her best friend. Please, if anyone has seen Sophia, contact the police. We just want her home. That's when the horror really set in. This wasn't just some random lost phone. This wasn't just creepy messages. This belonged to a girl who had vanished without a trace, and I was pretending to be her. I almost called the police right then. I even dialed 911 before freezing. Because what was I supposed to say? Hi, yeah, I found this phone that may or may not belong to a missing girl, and I might have just tricked her possible kidnapper into thinking I'm her. I didn't even know if A was a kidnapper. For all I knew, A was someone trying to help her. But the tone of the messages, the threats, the surveillance, no, my gut told me otherwise. And besides, if I handed it over now, would the cops even believe me? Or would they take the phone, lock it up as evidence, and shut me out completely? I couldn't let that happen. Not yet. At 5:07 a.m., the phone buzzed again. I jumped so hard I nearly dropped my laptop. Hey, why are you stalling? I stared at it, throat dry. How long had they been waiting at the house? Had they seen me bolt? I forced my thumbs to move. Me, as Sophia. I'm not, just being careful. There was a pause. Then a, careful doesn't save you, obedience does. Don't forget what happens if you disappoint me. My hands trembled. I wanted to throw the phone across the room. Instead I typed, me. I understand. A, good. Then you'll get the next instruction soon. Be ready. And then silence. The rest of that day was torture. I couldn't focus on anything. Every time I tried to close my eyes, I saw Sophia's smiling wallpaper face. I saw the word liar scrawled across someone else's photo in red ink. By evening, I'd made up my mind. I needed to know more about Sophia. I dug through her social media. She hadn't posted for months, which made sense given she'd gone missing, but her friends had left comments. Where are you? Please come home. We miss you. Then I stumbled on something chilling. A guy named Daniel Hayes. Her father had made a public post. To whoever has my daughter, please, I beg you, let her go. I don't care what you want. Please bring her back. I sat back in my chair, staring at the screen. Her own father was pleading into the void of the internet. This wasn't some prank. This wasn't a game. I was smack in the middle of something horrific. At 10:42 p.m., the phone buzzed again. I didn't even flinch this time. My body had gone numb. A, still awake? I typed, me. Yes. A, good. That means you're ready to prove yourself. Before I could reply, another message came through. A photo. For a second, my brain couldn't process what I was seeing. The image was grainy, shot through glass, but familiar. Too familiar. It was my street, my apartment building. And worse, my window. The photo had been taken from outside, angled upward. Someone was outside my building, looking in at me. I dropped the phone, literally threw it onto the carpet like it had burned me. My body went ice cold. Because this wasn't just about Sophia anymore. Whoever A was, they knew where I lived. They knew me, and I had no idea how. Alright, Reddit. This is where things went from creepy mystery to full-on nightmare fuel. I'd been playing along with this unknown texter for days, pretending to be the phone's missing owner. I'd seen threats, locations, even a live photo of my own apartment window, but nothing compared to what came next, the so-called final meeting. It started with a single text. Enough stalling. Tomorrow, midnight, you know where. At first I thought it was vague, but then another message dropped, almost immediately after. The bus stop, don't make me come get you. And that's when I realized this person wasn't guessing. They weren't throwing random threats into the void. They knew me. They knew my neighborhood. They had eyes on me. I'll be honest. I sat on my couch staring at that phone for probably an hour, heart racing, palms sweating. Every worst-case scenario cycled through my head. If I went, I could end up just like the phone's real owner. Vanished. If I didn't, well, the texter had already proven they could get close to me. That live photo of my window haunted me more than anything else. So I decided I wasn't going to just walk into this blind. If I was going prepared. I didn't want to involve the police directly. Not yet. If this was some elaborate, sick game, I didn't want to be dismissed as paranoid. But I also wasn't stupid. I needed a safety net. First, I dug up my old GoPro, the kind with the tiny clip mount. I rigged it to sit inside my jacket, the lens poking through a small tear in the fabric. Not perfect, but it'd capture enough. Then I downloaded a voice recorder app on my main phone and tucked it deep into my backpack, mic pointing out through the zipper gap. I also wrote a short, anonymous email detailing everything I knew so far. The text, the missing owner, the bus stop location, and scheduled it to send to the local police tip line at 1 a.m., 1 hour after the meeting. That way, if I didn't come back, at least someone would have a trail. As a final measure, I texted my buddy Ethan, using a burner app so it wouldn't trace back to me. If something happens tonight, check the old bus stop at 12. Don't come alone. No details, nothing traceable, but enough that someone would know where to start looking. By the time 11:45 p.m. rolled around, my nerves were shot. Every creak in the apartment made me jump. Every car passing outside felt like someone watching. The bus stop wasn't far, Just a 5-minute walk, but that 5 minutes felt like I was trudging into hell. The streets were empty, unusually quiet for my neighborhood. My footsteps echoed louder than they should have. Even the air felt heavy, like the whole world was holding its breath. When I finally reached the stop, the place looked the same as always. Rusted metal bench, cracked glass panel, and a busted streetlight flickering above. But knowing what I knew, it felt different. Like a stage waiting for a performance I wasn't sure I wanted to see. Exactly midnight, my phone buzzed. You showed. Good. My eyes darted around. The street was empty. No cars, no people. Just shadows stretching under the flickering light. Then another message. Sit. I froze. I didn't want to sit. I wanted to run, but I forced myself onto the cold metal bench, trying to keep my breathing steady. My GoPro was recording. My phone was recording. My failsafe email was ticking closer to launch. It's been fun watching you squirm. My blood ran cold. Watching me. I typed back, still pretending to be the owner. Who are you? The reply came instantly. Don't play dumb. You know what you did. At that point, I wasn't sure if they still believed I was the phone's real owner or if they were messing with me directly. But before I could figure it out, another message dropped. This time with an attachment. A photo. Not of me at the bus stop. Not of my apartment. But of me and Ethan hanging out weeks ago, laughing outside our favorite burger place. The picture had been taken from across the street without us noticing. I swear my heart stopped. Whoever this was, they'd been following me long before I found that phone. Before I could react, I heard it. Footsteps. Slow. Deliberate, crunching against the gravel behind the bus stop. I spun around, every muscle tensed. Out of the shadows, a figure stepped into the dim light. Hoodie pulled low, face obscured. Been a long time, the voice said, and that's when it hit me. That voice wasn't a stranger's. It wasn't random. It was Derek. Back in high school, Derek had been complicated. We weren't exactly friends, but we weren't enemies either. He was the kind of guy who thrived on chaos. Pulling pranks, stirring drama, pushing boundaries. He got expelled junior year for an incident that no one ever really explained, but the rumor was that he'd crossed a line with one of our teachers. After that, he vanished. No one saw him again, until now. Except, this wasn't the same goofy Derek I remembered. He looked harder, colder. His eyes had that wild, unhinged glint that made my stomach drop. You picked up my phone oh, he said, stepping closer. That was a mistake. I tried to play it cool, though my hands were shaking. So all of this, the texts, the threats, that was you? He smirked. I needed to know if you'd change, if you'd finally learn to follow orders. That line chilled me to the bone. Follow orders. You don't remember, do you? His voice dropped low, almost a growl. You left me behind. You think I forgot? I racked my brain, trying to connect dots that didn't exist. Left him behind. I barely knew the guy. But before I could press further, he lunged. I barely had time to react. He grabbed at my jacket, yanking me forward off the bench. The GoPro tumbled loose, clattering onto the ground. My instinct kicked in. I swung my backpack hard, slamming it into his side. He grunted, stumbling back just enough for me to break free. I didn't wait. I ran. The streets blurred as I sprinted. Adrenaline pumping harder than ever before. I could hear his footsteps pounding behind me, closer than I wanted to admit. My lungs burned, my legs screamed, but I didn't stop. At one point, I risked a glance back. He was still there, chasing, face twisted in rage. Finally, I cut down an alley, praying it wasn't a dead end. Luck was on my side. It opened up to another street where headlights suddenly cut across the dark. A car. I bolted straight for it, waving my arms like a lunatic. The driver slammed the brakes, horn blaring. In that split second, I darted across the street, using the car as cover. By the time I looked back, Derek was gone, vanished into the shadows. I stumbled home, every muscle trembling, and locked every door and window in my apartment. My failsafe email had already been sent to the police. My recordings were messy, but captured enough. His voice, his face, partially in the flicker of the streetlight. His words. I didn't sleep that night. Hell, I don't think I've slept properly since. The worst part? The text didn't stop. This is the part of the story where things finally hit the official level. Up until now, it had been me against the darkness, some unknown texter, a creepy missing phone, and Derek stepping out of the shadows like some ghost from my past. But after that bus stop encounter, I couldn't keep this to myself anymore. I had proof, recordings, photos, timestamps, everything. So for the first time, I walked into a police station with shaking hands and dropped the whole story on their desks. I'll admit, I half expected them to laugh me out of the building. But once I played Derek's voice from the recording, the way he said, "You picked up my phone and follow orders," their faces changed. They weren't skeptical anymore. They were interested. I spent 3 hours in that precinct, recounting every detail from the moment I found the phone to the chase through the streets. I showed them the anonymous email I had sent, the one that triggered when I went to the bus stop. I handed over the burner phone with the messages still saved, and I even gave them my busted GoPro. The officer in charge, Detective Harris, took one look at the photo Derek sent of me and Ethan and muttered, "This isn't the first time I've seen something like this." That sent chills down my spine. They ran the phone's I-Me-E through their system, cross-checking it against missing persons reports. It took about an hour, but when Harris came back, his expression was grim. "It belonged to a woman named Chloe Ramirez," he said. 24, reported missing 3 months ago. I swear, hearing her name made my stomach twist. Up until then, the owner of the phone had been this faceless ghost in my mind. Now she was real. She had a name, a life, and she was gone. Over the next week, the police worked fast. Faster than I expected, honestly. They pulled me in multiple times for follow-up questions, and every time, they had more pieces of the puzzle. Turns out, Chloe wasn't the only one. The phone had photos of other people, 2 blurry shots, surveillance-style angles, just like the ones Derek had sent me. Cross-referenced with case files, at least 3 of those faces matched missing persons from the past 2 years. Different backgrounds, different neighborhoods, but the same eerie connection. All their phones went dark right before they vanished. That's when Harris hit me with the word that made my blood run cold. Network. He explained they'd been piecing together cases like this for months. Scattered disappearances, phones resurfacing with creepy messages, stalker-style photos being sent to random people. Derek wasn't acting alone. He was part of something bigger. And I had walked straight into it. It didn't take long for them to track Derek down. The recordings and text messages gave them probable cause, and apparently, Derek had been sloppy. He'd been bouncing between cheap motels, using cash, but he wasn't as invisible as he thought. The night they caught him, Harris called me personally. "We've got him. He's in custody." For a second, I felt this overwhelming wave of relief, like maybe, finally, this nightmare was over. But then Harris's tone shifted. "Thing is," he said, "we don't think he's the top. He's just a handler, a messenger. Whoever's running this, they're still out there." And just like that, my relief vanished. I wasn't supposed to see it, but Harris let me peek at part of Derek's interrogation. It was behind one-way glass, me sitting in the dark while Derek sat in a metal chair on the other side, hands cuffed. He didn't look scared, not even a little. In fact, he looked almost smug. The detectives all asked him about Chloe, about the phone, about the network. Derek just smiled. "You think locking me up stops anything?" he said. "There are more of us than you know. He knows. They all know." And then I swear on everything he glanced toward the glass, right at me. He couldn't see me, that's impossible, but it felt like he did. The cops found Chloe's belongings in the abandoned house. I'd stumbled into her driver's license, her purse, even a necklace her parents confirmed was hers, but no Chloe, no body, no sign of where she'd gone. They also found notebooks filled with addresses and names, some crossed out, some circled. My bus stop was listed. My apartment building was listed. Ethan's name was scribbled in the margins. I was on their list. That realization hit me harder than anything else. I wasn't just some unlucky guy who found a phone. I was a target. Weeks passed. The police kept me in the loop, but things quieted down. Derek was behind bars, awaiting trial. The news even picked it up. Local man linked to missing persons cases arrested. My name wasn't mentioned, thank God, but I knew I was part of that story. I started sleeping again. I started believing maybe I could move on. Then one night, around 2 a.m., my phone buzzed. I thought it was just spam, but when I checked, my blood went cold. Unknown number, new thread. You did well. That was it. No threats, no instructions, just 3 words that made my skin crawl. I deleted the message immediately. I wanted to believe it was some cruel coincidence, a glitch, a wrong number, but deep down, I knew better. Because a minute later, another message came through. Image attachment. I opened it. It was my apartment. My window taken from the street below. Again. So yeah, Reddit. That's where I'm at now. Derek's locked up. But whoever's behind him, they're still out there. Watching. Waiting. Maybe they're reading this right now. And me? I don't know if I'm the hunter, the hunted, or just another name on a list waiting to be crossed out. All I know is I'll never look at a random buzzing phone the same way again. So, alright, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the story. We have so many more amazing stories coming your way, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. Our goal is to reach 100K subscribers by the end of this year, and we love for you to be part of this journey. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.